For a bit of context, I'm a 22-year-old female, 5'2", and about 125 pounds. My mother is 45, 5 foot nothing, and would blow over in the wind. We both look much younger than our actual ages, and due to that and small statures, have had our fair share of run-ins with creeps. I tend to carry a small arsenal on me at all times because of this. I have pepper spray, a taser, a pocket knife, and a small dagger inside my purse, so I tend to be pretty confident I can handle myself. Please don't judge. We live in a big city, and I'm a small girl. This particular night was the worst we've experienced with creepers so far, however. My mother and I were grocery shopping at our usual Wal-Mart. It was later in the day, around 7 p.m., something we try to avoid because, as said before, we've had our fair share of run-ins with the creepers. We just pulled into the parking lot and began our trek inside when I spotted 5 young men, older than myself but still young, standing outside the store, laughing and smoking near the front door. I pay it no mind when they glance at me and my mum, and we walk inside to the carts. The men all head inside now, and again I shrug it off but keep a mental note of their faces. I tend to be on the paranoid side. We head inside, and as we shop, I keep noticing 2 or 3 of the 5 men are in each aisle we go to. Alarm bells start to go off, but I push the paranoia aside and just keep my head high as we walk. Most of the time, confidence puts the creepers off. I make sure to go down a few random aisles just to test it, and sure enough, at least one of them is always there. Well, my mum starts to notice as well the more aisles we go down, and her hand squeezes mine in warning as she shoots one of the men a death glare when we stop in the cereal aisle. She tended to still be a mama bear, despite that I'm a grown woman. The guy, who's now moved about 2 feet from our cart, just glances over and smirks at her. He's tall, lanky, with short, dark hair partly hidden under a ball cap and a pointed, rat-like face. Mum just narrows her eyes, unnerved at his response to her look, and shoots me an unsure glance. I shrug, shooting a look his way before moving around him to grab a box off the shelf a little ways away. The hair on the back of my neck prickles suddenly, and as I turn around quickly, I jump when I see another one of the guys. This one is blonde, shaggy, oily hair hanging to his chin with his hands tucked in a grey, reflective material Punisher hoodie. He's staring up at the boxes, but a smirk is on his face as he directly stands in my path. My stomach flips and I grit my teeth as I snap, "Excuse me." I try to go around him, but he just moves in my path. A glare is shot at him now, not finding his antics funny, and Mom, seeming to notice, comes to my rescue by pushing the cart directly between us, asking, "Ready?" And he takes the hint to move now. Again and again, we run into these guys, and once finished shopping, I'm afraid they might try to follow us outside, so we begin roaming all over the store, taking different routes and aisles. We seem to lose them after a while, and we both relax, figuring they gave up. Our Wal-Mart has a self-checkout line made for grocery trips, so we start checking ourselves out. Halfway through unloading our items, I get that hair-standing feeling again as I turn, only to notice in the lane right next to us is, you guessed it, the same 5 guys. My stomach drops, eyes moving to my mom's, who stares at them with wide eyes and a furrowed brow. Trying to shake it off, we take our sweet time ringing things up. We figured seeing as the guys had no more than 10 items between them and we had a full cart, they would have to move on faster. Wrong. It seems no one else had decided to check out in our lanes, so they could go as slow as they'd like, and boy, did they. For the next 15 minutes, they stood there just watching us as we rang up our groceries and every now and then ringing things up. Mum grabs my arm and we share a look. I shake my head, starting to get freaked out as Mum, starting to panic, grabs her phone and calls my dad. In her state of panic, however, she turns and wanders a few feet away, not her best moment she admits, and when I turn to ring up the last few things, Ball Cap Guy is standing right there. We stare at each other, him grinning with gross stained and messed up teeth. I only glare, dropping the chicken in the bag before reaching for the last item and ringing it up still glaring at him in a stare-down. Mom, now off the phone, hurries back over, only to see Ballcap standing there while the other four sit on the benches located 3 feet away watching us. Ballcap simply takes an empty Gatorade bottle he'd been holding and chucks it into the trash can by the register without breaking eye contact before he turns to go sit with his friends. Keep in mind they had a trash can right by their register as well, completely empty. Mom and I, not knowing what to do, start fiddling around, hoping they'd get impatient and leave. But they didn't. As we pay and get our receipt, they are still there, so Mum grabs my arm and steers me toward customer service, telling me that my dad told us to have security walk us out. The guys move and walk out once we head over, and I feel relieved they finally left. The ladies at customer service were amazing and very understanding and stood with us the whole time, while security, a big man with a calm and confident persona, came over, took their descriptions, and went to the front doors on both entrances to make sure they weren't still around. When he got back, he told us when he went out one entrance, he found 5 men matching their descriptions hanging around the front of the building out of sight unless you walk out of the door and turn around. He said the minute they saw him, they took off, and he promised to walk us to our car and let the officer outside know what was going on. We thanked him and the ladies, and we thankfully made it to our car with no problems and haven't seen those men again. This happened back about a week and a half before Easter. For some background, I am a 29-year-old female, about 5'1" and about 120 pounds. However, most people mistake me for a 15 to 16-year-old girl. The youngest I have ever been mistaken for was about a 9 to 10-year-old kid, but that was by my nanny's best friend who hadn't seen me in years and just assumed I was one of her great-grandchildren. It was actually quite funny, and we all had a good laugh. Anyways, on to the weird encounter. My mom needed to go to Wal-Mart to pick up a few things that my dad had asked her to get, and some stuff they both needed in preparation for their upcoming trip to go to West Virginia, riding on the Hatfield and McCoy trails they have up there. My mom, dad, one of my sisters, her husband, and my 4 nephews and nieces were going for Easter weekend. This would be my mom's first time going, and she wasn't really happy that they planned the trip on Easter weekend, but they assured her they would be back early Sunday so we could still celebrate and have Easter dinner with my other 2 sisters and other 4 nephews and nieces. When we got there, my mum got a basket and headed off to the hair care and pharmacy section, and I told her that I was going to go look in the bedding department to see if they still had any fleece blankets left over that they had on sale. I used them for my guinea pigs. So she said that if I got done before her, she would still be around that area and to look for her there. I managed to find a few blankets left and got them and headed off to find my mum to stick them in the basket. She was right. She was still in the same section, and it seemed like she would be there forever. Across the way was where they had all of their Easter candy and decorations, so I told her I was going to go see if they had any of those pooping animal-themed candy dispensers. My sister gave me one years ago as sort of a joke for Easter, and coincidentally I loved it, so she has been giving me one every year since for Easter, Christmas, and whatever other holidays they make them for. I have quite the collection and love getting them. It is a long-standing and fun tradition between me and my sister. When I get over to the Easter section, there is no one there but me, and I'm relieved because most of the time people are flocked there in the seasonal sections like moths to a flame and refuse to move from their spots to let anyone else get a look. So I'm browsing through and checking out the candy when this guy comes around the corner into the aisle I'm in. He's a nice-looking young guy. He looks to be about 19 to 20, and at first all seems well. I'm going on looking at all of the stuff when I get this feeling as if he is staring at me, so I move down the aisle, pretending to look at the stuff while trying to gauge if he is actually staring at me or not, and he is. I thought to myself, okay, he's just a young guy, and probably thinks I'm a young girl around his age, and he's just checking me out or something. After another minute or 2 of this, it becomes clear he isn't looking at anything in the aisle but me, and every time I glance his way, he averts his gaze really quickly, and pretends to be checking out a product. At this point, it just becomes too weird for me. If he would have said something, I think maybe I would have felt more comfortable, but he just kept staring holes right through me, and it began to make me feel uneasy. While he was pretending to look at the product on the shelf and trying to look intently interested in it, I seized the chance to quickly move around to the aisle on the other side. He didn't see which way I went, and when I was in the other aisle alone for a bit, I felt that maybe I was just being too paranoid, and that's when I look up to see him standing right next to me. I never heard him or seen him enter, and boom, he's right there all up in my space. I'm kind of startled by this, and then my creep meter goes up, and I start to get the heebie-jeebies and this feeling of something ain't right with this dude. So I move on down the aisle, trying not to show any fear, and a couple of seconds, and he's moving right along with me. So I quickly turn around, as if I'm looking at something on the shelves behind me, and he does the same. About that time, thank God, some woman comes down the aisle with her buggy and startles him. So I move to another aisle. I'm in there for a bit before he finds me again, and he slowly starts inching his way closer and closer to me. He's wearing a hooded sweatshirt, and as he gets closer, he starts putting his hands under his shirt, and it sounds like he is fiddling with his belt buckle all the while, stealing glances of me. At this time, I'm panicking inside and trying to move away from him, but he follows me everywhere. I look him straight in the face, and he is just staring blankly at me, all the while still doing whatever it is he is doing under his shirt. About that time, both the woman from the other aisle and my mum come in, and I'm so relieved. My mum tells me that she is going to the food department, and I just say, "I'll go with you." At that point, I wasn't about to go anywhere by myself in that store with that weirdo on my heels. As we leave, he is acting all normal, as if he wasn't doing anything creepy, and picks up a bag of random candy and walks out of the other end of the aisle. Finally, I feel relieved and that I'm in the clear, so on the way to the food section, I remembered I needed to stop by the pet department and get my dog Otis a bag of his favorite treats. So, my mum continues on to the drink aisle, and as I pick up a bag of dog biscuits, I look to my left, and to my horror, there is this guy again. He has still been following me this whole time, and now he's got me alone again. At this point, I'm really wishing we had come to Wal-Mart when it was like rush hour and the place was packed like sardines. At least I wouldn't find myself so isolated and alone with this creepy dude. I get my dog treats and walk as fast as I can out of the aisle, headed for the drink section where my mum said she would be. Thank God she is there, and I stick my treats in the basket and decide I'm not going anywhere else in that store alone. Throughout the whole entire time we were there, he was in every single aisle we went in, just staring me down and looking for any opportunity when he might find me by myself again, but I never gave him the chance. We got our stuff and went to check out. He tried to check out in the line 2 lanes away in hopes, I guess, of following us out, but thank God the little old lady in front of him picked up something that didn't have a price tag, and she held up that line, and he couldn't go anywhere else. By that time, we were finished checking out and got the heck out of there. As we were loading the stuff in the car, I saw him come out of the front door and just stand on the sidewalk scanning to see where I went, but he never saw me because I hid on the other side of the car, and he gave up. I told my mum about it on the way home, and she agreed with me that he was acting strangely in a stalker-like manner, and that he very well must have thought I was just some 15 to 16-year-old girl alone. Who knows what his intentions were? If in fact I had been 15 to 16 and alone, he may very well have followed me out and tried to kidnap me. But who knows? And I hope no one ever has to find out. My friend was over and had to make a run to Wal-Mart. It was about 9 p.m, not too late, but a time my mother normally wouldn't let me out and about at. But given that I was graduated, my mum let us go. I was 18 and my friend was 19 at the time. A quick plan to get garbage bags, something that should have taken 5 minutes top, ended up taking half an hour. We got in, got the garbage bags, and walked around for a bit. We just kind of fooled around, browsing and talking, whatever. During this time I noticed that my friend was acting kind of weird, but brushed it off. We were standing in line, ready to check out. My friend leaned in close and said, "Do you see that guy?" I glanced up, but didn't know what she was talking about. I still feel really guilty about this, for being too dumb to notice. We started walking away after checking out. Buying only garbage bags doesn't take a lot of time. As we were leaving, she started to explain. There was some dude that said, "Hello," and being polite, she said hi back. We then saw him at checkout. Both of us being paranoid naturally, we brushed it off. We got in the car and we saw him in the parking lot. Again, no big deal. Deciding to play it safe, we decided to wait until he left. Turns out he had a couple of guys with him. They pulled over on our left, leering at us through the car windows. It was nearly dead silent in the car, but I could swear you could hear our hearts frantically beating. Even typing this up, I still get that panic. The car of guys quickly sped over, parking next to us. My friend immediately floored the car, pulling in reverse and speeding out of the parking lot. The guys followed. We quickly sped out of there, making a turn on some random road, the car of guys behind us at all times, going as fast as we were. We honestly thought we were going to die. At one point, they ended up passing us and waving before pulling into a church parking lot ahead and turning around to get behind us again. At this point, we're still going 80 in a 35 and getting closer to my house. Neither of us wanted to lead the guys to our homes, so we thought fast. Near my house, there's a little store where you can buy cigarettes, alcohol, candy. Pretty much a gas station without any gas pumps. We hauled ass to the back of the store, parking and moving to head in through the back. One of the workers was outside in the back and approached us. Luckily, the guy understood exactly and started to go up front. We peeked around the corner, and lo and behold, the group of guys were there around front. My friend and I proceeded to sneak in through the back. Now, in the back on the left side is a deli station, and the right side is where the alcohol is. My friend ducked into the deli station, and I hid out on the right side. There was a female worker in the deli, and then my friend made a signal for her to be quiet. The female worker pretended we weren't there at all. A couple minutes pass, and we hear the front door open. I peek around the corner, and it's one of the guys. I hide out in back, heart racing, hoping he doesn't come back here. Finally, a few more minutes pass, and the guy worker from before comes in through the back and tells us that the guys are gone. He chewed them out. Oddly enough, they flat out admitted to stalking us. When the guy worker pretended to be family, they quickly backed off, claiming they were only getting beer. We learned from the female worker that those guys are regulars and are always going on about creepy and sexist crap in Spanish, thinking she doesn't know. My friend and I end up hanging out for a little bit, just to make sure the guys weren't hanging around on a street corner. We're totally grateful to the guy and girl working there, because they were in complete understanding and worried about us. Please drop a like and subscribe to Eerie Echoes for more horror stories. As always, thank you for watching.